today I was kind of dreading this one. I didn't really have any idea, way more than normal, of what I wanted to talk about. And then just kind of sitting at my computer, had a couple ideas written down, some things I want to talk about. At some point, I really want to talk about this kind of thought framework that a colleague of mine shared with me. I think I mentioned it the other day, but we'll get to that. I'm not really big on like the concept of thought frameworks. I think they're just fun to kind of pressure test. Not pressure test. I think they're kind of fun to help understand how you think and process things. Because I think there's so much we take for granted in that kind of stuff. How do we look at problems, solve problems, handle different types of challenges, work challenges, relationship challenges. And I think it's always fun because sometimes I do find it so charming how puzzling human behavior can be. But at the same time, you get a little bit frisky and you always just want to ask why. So day 13, gratitude. And today, it's a pretty straightforward one. Really grateful. A long time ago, I was a part of this, I think it was called Expert Voice. I don't really know if it was a scam or something, but basically you can sign up for it and you supposedly get discounts on various types of gear. And at the time, they had this like really nice Mammut puffy jacket, down jacket, and it was I almost just said on mega sale. And it was severely discounted and marked down, and it had like a 900 or has like a 900 fill power, which I think is really good. The more I've looked into it, confusing world of down jackets and their ratings and how they keep you warm and how much down is in the jacket and the power of the down. But anyway, bought this jacket. It was significantly marked down. And I guess like one of the selling points at the time for this jacket was that it was like a really lightweight jacket. Can't think of a scenario where that would be a thing, but I'm not like a mountain climber or a super long distance hiker. So the 0.1 grams that it could or couldn't weigh, not important to me. But anyway, the exterior material is like really light. I remember like the first day I got it, you need to wear like a shell with it. The first day I got it, I ripped it, and it has like, at this point, it has like 5 or 6 various patches on it, which actually work quite well. But anyway, the jacket is so incredibly warm, and it is really light. And I bring it everywhere with me. And not in the summer, but in the winter, like a teddy bear. No, I just love the jacket. It was just cool because it was one of those things I bought randomly, and at first was kind of disappointed in it because the material was so fragile. And now I use it all the time in the winter. It's a great jacket, and I just embrace putting the patches on it. That's a little tiny day lesson there. Sometimes you just have to embrace the thing, use it to its fullest, fix it as needed. I've been toying around with the concept of buying a sewing machine. So I'm grateful for that jacket. I'm also grateful for, speaking of sewing machines, I destroy clothes, and it gets expensive buying new clothes. And the reason I destroy them is because I find like one thing I really will like, and I wear that thing until it essentially goes to wear that thing until it just disintegrates into oblivion. But I found this guy in Colorado, in a little town near here, and it's just a tailor. I bring him all my stuff, and he always laughs because I'm bringing all my shirts, and they have holes in them. My pants have holes in them. They're all worn down. He always just laughing at me. I think I've had to maybe fit one suit. Everything else is just these little odd jobs of piecing together my clothes. But he seems to appreciate it, and I bring him a lot of business, which I hope helps. And selfishly, I like to think because what I'm bringing, and he does a great job. What I bring him is like, a hole in a workout shirt. So maybe it's a good way for maybe somebody who's new that he's hired to learn. But anyway, does awesome work. So I'm grateful for him. I'm grateful for that jacket. So double gratitude day for day 13. Little stuff, but man, I can't tell you how much that matters to me. So rewind. Kind of dreading this. It's late. Was really thinking about like a handful of things I wanted to talk about. Was getting kind of sleepy. Hey, you got to go down here and do this. Boot up the computer. And I was sitting here thinking about this framework concept I wanted to discuss, but then I started thinking about a conversation I had with a friend today, and he's sort of just looking into various things, thinking about what he's going to do next in his life. And he was just kind of talking about this concept of how it's sort of like hard for him to sit still, like not sit still in the moment and have a conversation, but in like the larger sense of like sitting still in your life, adhering to like, this is the path and here are the square corners and here's all the rules to each day. And he was just saying, he said, I feel like a caged dog. That's such an interesting phrase. And I can relate to that feeling so much, but regardless of my specific feeling or his, I just, was curious to know, like, what do other people do to like scratch that itch? When they feel that type of entropy, that kind of hunger, what are the things they're doing to satisfy that? And a handful of people in my life, I kind of look at them and I know what they're doing. But I wonder how many of us out there, and I think, and my theory is it's a lot of us, keep a lid on that. You have this, this feeling of, and maybe not everyone does have this feeling. I mean, I like to do, at least I feel like I like to do as much as I can. I get annoyed when I feel like I have to rest or take time off from the things I want to do. It really bothers me. And I often feel like there's just not enough time in the day to do all the things I want to do. And maybe that is because I'm disorganized, but I would like to think it's because I want to do more. So putting aside whether that's right or wrong, does that fill the cup? Is that balanced? Blah, blah, blah. I just got really stuck on and excited to talk about this concept of like, what do you do when you have that feeling? And what happens if that feeling, you have that regularly, you just put a lid on it? What other things do you just try and fill that up with? I think someone said somewhere, like, when you watch like the same TV show over and over and over again, like it's a sign that you're like coping, or it's like the regularity of it is kind of like a pacifier, like a little child's blanket or something like that. You're overusing it to feel safe and comfortable. But at the same time, I think for those people who always just want to go, 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 there is probably too a little bit of that voice, because our body and our minds are so drawn to comfort, to, steer away from that, satisfying that hunger, pushing forward and doing whatever it is to try and trigger that thing. I have friends, and for some of them, it's like a lot of friends who actually participate in these kind of sports, I think, fall into this bucket of just having like this constant energy, this entropy, just always expanding, doing. But like the endurance sports, so many people I talk to in that fall into that bucket. Definitely some CrossFitters too, I think, fall into that bucket. And just busy people. I've a lot of friends who are just always doing little tasks, learning how to build new things, paint new things, art new things, learning new skills. And I think that's so interesting. And I have a kind of sneaking suspicion that there are more of us out there than we think. I bump into a lot of people, and they say things like, well, I just don't always have that much energy. Like, I need my rest and my balance time, and I think that's fair. I think that's I wouldn't discount that. That's accurate. But I also bump into people who say that a lot, and then at the same time I ask them like what they're ultra passionate about, and they don't really like have that hobby or hobbies that they just get super excited about chasing down, which I think is interesting. It's not really a judgment. But this now is reminding me of something I wanted to talk about a long time ago, which was this concept of, are you bummed out or are you burned out? And we mentioned this, and with a minute left, it's probably not the best time to start it, but we can probably keep talking about it. That's the nice thing here, in the next one, or maybe this one goes beyond 10 minutes, but are you bummed out or are you burned out? And, when I bump into somebody who's, quote unquote burned out, and I start talking to them about like what they're burned out about, there's so much I hear that they do that like they aren't inherently interested in. And so in my mind, it's like, well, you're not burned out. You're just bummed out. And the more you get bummed out, gosh, the less enthusiastic you're going to feel, the less motivated you're going to feel, the less apt you are to, apply yourself with discipline. And again, I use dogs as so many examples, but it's like, when a dog goes into that prey drive where they get distracted, whatever it is, some dogs it's fetch, some dogs it's, chasing something, some dog is herding dogs, working dogs, whatever it is. When they go into that prey drive, it's like they will literally do it till they die. And I think about those things in my life where I've done them and I felt them. They start to satisfy that just constant yearn, that hunger to go, 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 go. And I can't get enough of those things. And I'm not just talking about this in a substance sense. I'm talking about this in an activity sense. And it's really incredible when you start to feel those kinds of things. And I think one of the things for me to exercise here is, how do you go about your daily life and identify and start to understand what those things are? Because it's a special feeling to so rarely be burned out because you're so rarely bummed out. But I do know that feeling. I know what it's like to feel uninterested, and that's when I feel bummed and burned out. But man, when I'm interested, I don't feel that way. More tomorrow.